That said, I'm always going to bring truth to light. So we're going to get into what's happening with the energies currently and why everybody is feeling so
Peace,
sensitive.
family. It's your boy Zay-P. Zay-P that I am. I am that I am, as you are that you are, for we are all that we are. And so, your boy's back with a brand new video. Because right now, we're in a phase where the energies are pretty high, right? We just come off the new year. Everybody's in their July and their January energies for the new year. Everybody's feeling a lot of different things currently. People's sensitivities are increasing. People are growing more in just their awareness to their own emotional realm. And so this is making people much more volatile. That said, I'm always going to bring truth to light. So we're going to get into what's happening with the energies currently and why everybody is feeling so sensitive. So the biggest thing that I want to talk about is the sensitivities that's leading to people's victim conscious. It's triggering people's victim mentalities. There's a lot of victim consciousness bubbling up to the surface. Now, what's happening with the collective, and this is what Spirit is telling me now, a lot of this is coming up to be released, to be purged. We're coming up as a collective with issues of worthiness clashing up against our own victim consciousness. And so what happens with that is that as the energy starts to move and we start to tap into this idea of being worthy, of being innately worthy, what that brings up is all the ways that people have been violated, all the ways people have been hurt, etc., etc. This leads to triggering people's victim consciousness, people's victim mentalities. And what I see, especially in the spiritual communities right now, which is really a bit shocking because a lot of those influencers or thought leaders or gurus or whatever the hell you want to call them, teachers, coaches, masters, whatever. But what I'm seeing and what a lot of people are talking about is there's a lot of complaining going on, and there's a lot of ego games going on, and there's a lot of hurt happening. And then I look around at the world outside of these spiritual communities and I see these same energies mirrored, right? We see this in a lot of job situations where a lot of financial heads are feeling slighted, are feeling whatever the case may be with regards to the pandemic, with regards to lockdowns. People are getting tired. Massive dismissals, massive firings. We're seeing a lot of individual people feeling like the need to kind of scramble and hustle, but then a lot of that victim consciousness comes up when things don't work out the way they expect or the way they anticipate. You know, part of that is our own habit of attaching to things that we should not be attaching. We should never be attaching to outcomes. And the things that we invest our energy in should always be the things that we're choosing to do because they fulfill us as it is, without necessarily needing to attach to an outcome to be fulfilled. And so with all of that happening, what's coming up in a lot of people is feeling that whole victim consciousness. It's triggering and it's tapping into people's old traumas. It's tapping into people's old pains and hurts. And it's causing new, fresher pains and hurts because there's just so much of this coming up to be released. And so we all are called to face our triggers, to face our traumas, and to begin the process of releasing them. And so that is the biggest message that Spirit wants to bring forward, especially with this particular week. And in the weeks ahead, we're going to be called to really start to integrate the knowledge and assimilate the lessons of our own innate worthiness. As we do that, there is no space for the egoic victim consciousness. And so as we are trying and as we are starting to align and really starting to embody and really starting to just even integrate, contemplate, just think on this idea that we're worthy. Just think on this idea that we're deserving of love, that we're deserving of achieving the goals that we want for ourselves. And we're starting to step into that. It's time to release the triggers, the traumas, the pains, the hurts. And sometimes that calls for being a bigger person. Sometimes that calls for forgiveness. Sometimes that calls for acceptance. Because when hurt people, when we see hurt people and they've been triggered and they've been hurt, they may lash out, and then now they may be triggering and hurting you, causing you to either choose the older route of you lashing out in retaliation, of you being hurt, of you being the victim, or to choose the more fuller, wholer response, which is you knowing your innate worthiness, you accepting that, and you being able to rise above the triggers and the traumas that another hurt person may be hurling at you. Because let's face it, hurt people hurt people. We all know that. We all know that saying. So if a hurt person hurts you, and you being a person who's been hurt in the past, if you choose to turn around and inflict that same pain back to them, or worse yet, pay it forward and inflict that pain to another, all you're doing is compounding more of that hurt. You're adding to the victim consciousness that we need to be letting go. Part of needing to be letting go is doing the shadow work, healing some of our old traumas, especially those childhood traumas, forgiving those we need to forgiving situations that we've been through, forgiving ourselves. Whether it's forgiving ourselves for getting caught up in that situation, whether it's forgiving ourselves for just being hurt by that situation, whatever the case may be, we need to do that shadow work to start releasing this victim consciousness, so that when the triggers of those who may not be necessarily as evolved as you, or who may not necessarily be as enlightened as you, or who may not necessarily just be in the same place where they can actually step aside or step away from their own hurts, well then you have the strength, you have the fortitude, you have the mindfulness to stand your ground, to hold your reserves, and to still shine your light, and to deal with, to manage, not to suffer the slings and arrows, but just to be able to withstand any slings and arrows, to be able to be mindful and navigate through life so that you don't even have to deal with those slings and arrows. But rather than responding trigger happy, I gotta get back at that person, we need to start shifting this. And this is gonna come with shadow work, with letting go of the trauma and the pains of our past. This is gonna go with letting go of all of the reasons and all of the excuses that we have made ourselves a victim. All of the ways that we justify our hurts, we justify our pains, we justify that we're the victim. So once we start letting go of those excuses, well then once other victims are hurling stuff at us, we can be the bigger person, or we can actually do the work to kind of create the spaces so that those other victims are not able to harm your own essence, are not able to harm your own being, right? While they may throw slings and arrows at you, and that might scratch and scathe the ego, they're not hurting you in totality, you in your fullness, you as who you truly are. And so the call at this time is really to do the work to release those old pains, those old traumas, to not get caught up and triggered by a lot of the bull, to not let ourselves fall into these traps where we are picking up that victim conscious energies. You know, some of those traps, like you talk to somebody and they share how they feel bad, they share how they've been a victim, and now you get into that same game. Oh yeah, I've been a victim, I've been through this and I've been through that, yeah, and I've been through this and I've been, and next thing you know, you have a woe is me contest, and that both of y'all are just in your victim energy, your victim consciousness. This is about up leveling. This is about stepping outside of that, stepping into the fullness of your being. And the fullness of your being is divine. The divine is never a victim. So understand your power. Start to do the work to step out of it. Recognize that all of the hurts and all the triggers that's happening right now is complete and utter bullshit. It's just the victim consciousness of the collective coming to be released so that we can all integrate more of our innate worthiness. And with that, we have to do a level of work to release those things so that we're not all attacking each other, and that we are not all being destroyed when you get attacked by somebody else who's just a hurt person trying to hurt people. So that's your quick message for today. It's your boy Zay-P, sending you lots of love. Excited for more. Stay tuned. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow on the channel. So with that said, it's your boy Zay-P. I'm out.